Hey everybody, this is Craig from Ottawa Swordplay here again on Saturday for our Saturday drill class. And today, as we usually do, we're going to be focusing on longsword techniques. Everything we do here is convertible to other weapons, and particularly, again, today a lot of our stuff works single-handed. We're going to start with some of the same opening exercises and things that we did last time. And some of the ones that we did that we're not going to repeat today, like the thumb grip flip, are still useful for what we're doing today. We're going to focus a little bit on some other elements. But as almost always, I do want to start with the foot rotations. So we're going to stand with our feet about shoulder width apart, put the weight on the balls of our feet, and I'm going to rotate all the way to my left, and then we're going to rotate right and left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so the second exercise we're going to do is the one that is similar to the waker or the crumphow. So I want you to hold your sword or training tool in the thumb grip straight up like this, and keep your elbow close to your side, tucked in there. And then we're going to, keeping this all just in the wrist here, rotate the sword down to the side, back up, down to the other side. And we shouldn't be letting the sword fall too much. We should be controlling the motion the whole way through. So then we'll come back up. All right, so side, up, down, up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, and just for balance, we will switch and do the left hand version. So again, tuck your elbow to the side, sword straight up and down, to the side, up and down and up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so when we're using that today, funnily enough, we're going to be doing some things which arguably aren't wakers or crumphow or whatever. I'll explain how that works, but we're going to be using that as part of a winding technique. Now, we're going to do a little bit of work on our footwork, and for the beginning, I'm going to say don't worry too much about where your sword is, and you can start with either foot forward, and we're going to be working on our passing steps. So I'm facing fairly straight forward. My front foot is pointed almost straight on, or maybe straight slightly out to the side. I'll face you to help demonstrate this. My back heel is in line with the line of my front foot, and somewhere between 90 and 45 degrees for my back foot is what I like to have. It's up to you where exactly that is. So when we're doing our passing steps, I'm going to start by rotating my hips and rotating on the balls of my feet so that I'm switching the alignment of my 2 feet. And then when I pass forward, I'm now finishing already in the correct foot position. And I can rotate on the balls of my feet, and if I pass back, I'm already in that same foot position again. So we're just going to do forward steps for the moment without worrying about our weapon. So I'm going to rotate on the balls of my feet, and 1, 2, rotate, 3, rotate, 4, rotate, 5, rotate, 6, and I'm going to switch facing here, and rotate, 7, rotate, 8, rotate, 9, 10, 11, 12. All right, good. So now we are going to do the same thing, but we're going to put the steps back in, and we're going to do our exercise of real life, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So the way this is going to work, I'm starting either foot forward, it doesn't really matter. I'm going to rotate on the balls of my feet, pass forward. Rotate on the balls of my feet, pass forward. Rotate on the balls of my feet, pass backwards. All right, and we'll carry on from here. So rotate, forward, rotate, forward, rotate, backwards. Rotate, forwards, rotate, forwards, rotate, backwards. Forward, forward, backwards. Forward, forward, backwards. Forward, forward, backwards. All right, good. Now, we're going to start incorporating the sword. And again, for what we're doing, it doesn't matter what side you're starting forward. I usually start with my left foot forward because that's how I usually start in a fight. And we're going to start in flug or our boar guard. And we can go ahead and start in the thumb grip for what we're doing right now. And so when I'm using the sword, all I'm going to be doing is thinking about doing windings or picking up the blade as it's coming in. If you've seen my video on picking a thread. So an attack is coming in here, so I'm bringing my sword across to cover there. I'm staying in the thumb grip. I'm rotating on the balls of my feet, and I'm stepping forward. And then, if they change through and bring the threat back to the other side, I need to bring my sword across, rotate on the balls of my feet, and I can pass forward again. And then, because we're going to be doing the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, we're going to bring the sword across, rotate, and step back this time. All right? So again, we'll do that going across. So starting with either foot forward, sword across, rotate, forward. Sword across, rotate, forward. Sword across, rotate, backwards. Sword across, rotate, forwards, sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, backwards. Sword, rotate, forwards, sword, rotate, forwards, sword, rotate, backwards. 1 more set. Sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, backwards. All right, so the numbering system that we use for the windings is derived from our historical sources, although they're a little bit less explicit. When we are winding to our uncrossed hand side here like this into the boar guard or into flug, that's our 5th winding. And when we're going to our crossed hand side, this is our 7th winding. And we also have our high windings, which are in ox. And if I am winding up to my uncrossed side, that is our 1st winding. And if I am winding to my crossed hand side, that is my 3rd winding. Now, generally speaking, when we're doing windings, we're actually doing them in contact with the blade. And so we want to keep everything as tight as possible, which means we want to keep our point forward. So we're going to be looking at doing high windings, the same thing that we just did. And this time, for reasons, I'm going to start right foot forward, apparently. And I'm starting in my uncrossed ox guard. So if I want to go from left ox to right ox, I'm doing a 3rd winding. I'm going to bring my sword across like this, and I'm pushing my pommel across underneath my wrist. But you can see I'm trying to keep my point forward the whole time through, rather than bring it way around like this. That sort of keeps the pressure on and does a bunch of other stuff. So from 1st to 3rd, rotate the feet and step forward. And then we're going to go from the 3rd winding back to the 1st winding, rotate the feet, step forward, rotate back across to the 3rd, step backwards. All right? So same thing, I'm going to do that across the room. And of course, if you need more space, you can do more steps backwards, or you can switch the direction that you're moving at any point. All right, so starting either side forward, doesn't really matter. Starting in the ox guard, rotate your sword across to the opposite ox, rotate on the balls of your feet, step forward. Sword, feet, step forward. Sword, rotate feet, step backwards. Sword, rotate feet, forward, sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, backwards. Sword, rotate, forwards, sword, rotate, forwards, sword, rotate, backwards. Sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, forward, sword, rotate, backwards. All right, that's probably enough passing steps with windings right now. So we are going to put this together in at least a little bit into the context of some of the sequences that frequently come up in our fighting that work well together. So we're going to go back and start with our Oberhau or Zornhau, our setting forth or counter strike off the shoulder, and then we're going to go into the fifth winding from there. So doing this straight on, we're going to start just with the sword part, and we're going to do 10 of those. And again, remember when we're doing this with the sword, don't exert yourself, because when I'm bringing my sword forward and stopping, the stopping is what puts strain on my joints, and I don't want to injure myself. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, so we're gonna go straight into doing the strike, rotating and stepping. So it'll be sword, rotate on the balls of our feet, and step forward. And that's it for this one, all right? So sword, rotate, step, 1. Reset. Sword, rotate, step, 2. Reset. Sword, feet, step, 3. Sword, rotate, step, 4. Sword, rotate, step, 5. Sword, rotate, step, 6. Sword, rotate, step, 7. Sword, rotate, step, 8. Sword, rotate, step, 9. And last one, sword, rotate, step. All right, good. Now, normally, if we're doing a Zornhau, we'll move into shooting long at this point. But today, one possible reason we might be doing this is, let's say we actually set forth and they did the Zornhau to us and shot long. We're going to respond to that by doing our fifth winding, our winding into the Beauregard. So having completed my strike, I'm switching into the thumb grip and pushing my hands out. And remember, I'm using this to lever their threat out away from me. I want to keep my point on line, but I want to push this forward and out to the sides. I don't want to leave myself open in the middle line here. All right, so we're going to go sword, rotate balls of the feet, step, wind, and reset. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Sword, rotate, step, wind. 3 more. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Sword, rotate, step, wind. 1 more. Sword, rotate, step, wind. All right, so this is a fairly basic beginning situation where we've come to the bind and they have given us threat, so we have taken control of the center space. One of the things that might happen if we do that in a real fight is that they will go through. So having done my strike here, their sword is on this side. I wind to push it here, so they're coming through on this side with their pommel towards me. And maybe they're gonna cut to the other side, or maybe they're gonna come in and pommel me in the face. But the thing that I wanna do from here is the alten Schnitt, the high slice, which is a version of the third winding. So from my left flug, I'm going to wind into right ox, rotate on the balls of my feet, and step. And as I was saying with our other techniques here, I want to keep my point centered. The more I let my point drift out to the side, the less leverage I have on the person's wrist. So we're going to just go from left flug in the thumb grip, wind to right ox, rotate on the balls of our feet, and step. And we're going to do that 5 times. All right, thumb grip flug, right ox, feet, step. Reset, thumb grip flug, right ox, rotate feet, step. 2. Thumb grip flug, right ox, rotate feet, step. 3. Thumb grip flug, right ox, rotate feet, step. 1 more, thumb grip flug, roll into right ox, rotate on the balls of the feet, and step. You may notice that as I'm rolling from flug into ox, my feet are already starting to rotate, because once my hands get to a certain point, I can't continue moving there without rotating like that. That's one of the examples of how this naturally begins to flow, but we don't want to rotate our feet before our sword has started to move. All right, so this is how we go from the winding to the high slice. So we're now going to put that together again into a complete sequence. So I'm in the tower guard, femme pas. I'm going to bring my sword forward, rotate on the balls of my feet, step, wind. Bring my sword up into right ox, rotate on the balls of my feet, and step. All right, and we'll do 5 of those. So sword, rotate, step, wind. Right flug, rotate, step. That's 1. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Right ox, rotate, step. 2. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Right flug, rotate, step. 3. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Right ox, rotate, step. We'll call that 4. 1 more. Sword, rotate, step, wind. Right flug, rotate, step. I never thought it would be hard to count to 5 until I tried to do it while running through a sequence of techniques like this. All right, so now we're going to get into the place where we're using a Krumpau-like action. And this is a fairly unusual situation, but having done my winding onto the person's wrists, I'm slicing against their wrists and holding their hands up high. But there's a technique that is called transforming the slices, or the hand pressing, the Handdrücken, where we want to move their hands from high to low and push them into their body. So from my right ox, I'm going to come closer and turn sideways a little bit. I'm going to pull on the pommel to come down like this, bringing my sword across. But straight on here, you can see that as I do that, I'm still keeping my sword on my right hand side, and I'm going to here. So we're just going to do that action 5 times, all right? So from here, I'm pulling the pommel, and oh look, this is basically Spreckfenster that we use all the time. All right, so 1, back to ox, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, now once We're gonna roll the sword on the person's arms. We've caught their arms here. We're pushing so their arms are on this side of the blade, and now we're gonna rotate this way. Now, it is debatable whether, once I've rotated to here, I wanna turn my long edge on and push, or carry on through with the short edge with my thumb underneath. And honestly, this is one, I leave it to you to do what you prefer. I find, even though this is a bit awkward, it applies more leverage, but if I'm using something like a Kriegsmesser, the blunt edge isn't gonna cut, and the long edge is, all right? So from here, again, I'm pulling down like this, and I'm rotating in like here. Now I'm gonna rotate on the balls of my feet, and I'm gonna step to push the person's arms against their body as I slice. And that is the Handrücken, all right? So, from ox, pull to here, rotate through, balls of the feet, step. Back to right ox, pull the pommel, rotate through, rotate on the balls of the feet, step. 3 more, pull, continue around, step. Back to ox, pull, bring the sword around, balls of the feet, step. 1 more, pull, rotate the sword around, rotate the balls of the feet, step through. All right. Incidentally, this is one of my favorite things to see in an actual sword fight, because even somebody who has no idea what else is going on, who sees that happen in a fight, knows who won. It's one of the most decisive, conclusive techniques in our system. So, the full sequence, starting from the tower, bring my sword forward, rotate on the balls of my feet, step, wind into the thumb grip, up into right ox, rotate on the balls of my feet, step, pull the pommel to do my waker-like action, wind the sword around, rotate on the balls of my feet, and step through. And you can see my final step, I'm kind of going off to my left. That is intentional. I'm walking past the person, taking them with me. All right, so tower, sword forward, rotate, step, wind into thumb grip, wind to right ox, rotate on the balls of the feet, step, waker, rotate through, balls of the feet, step. And we'll just do 2 more of that. So from the tower, forward, rotate, step, wind, ox, rotate, step, waker, all the way through, rotate, step, tower, sword, rotate, step, wind, right ox, rotate, step, pull the pommel, wind through, rotate, step. 1 more. Sword, rotate, step, wind into flute, wind into ox, rotate, step, waker, sword through, rotate, step. All right, good. Now, there is another similar situation and similar use that we're gonna look at. And again, we're just gonna start from going into right ox. But having come into right ox, we're gonna actually assume that we didn't get the person's wrists for whatever reason, and they are now in blade contact with our sword, and they are trying to push our point down, and we're going to let them push down, and we're going to go through with a step. All right, so starting in ox, I'm gonna drop my point, rotate my feet, and step. Back to ox, drop my point, rotate, step. And this is just the beginning of going through that we've done lots of times before. Drop my point, rotate, step. 2 more, ox, drop my point, rotate, step. Last one, drop my point, rotate, step. Now, from here, their blade is on my sword on this side, and maybe they're pushing in this way. I could go through, and I've got all kinds of neat techniques here, but I have another option. I'm going to pull hard on my pommel to wing it back to Sprechfenster. So I'm going to come a little bit closer, but from here, I'm doing that pull, and sometimes this will actually whip their sword out of the bind if we do it fast and hard. But we're using leverage to displace their sword to that side, all right? So starting from here with the sword hanging down where we finished, and I'm right foot forward in right ox, I'm just gonna pull the pommel and back to Sprechfenster. All right, hanging position, pull the pommel, back to Sprechfenster. 2 more, hanging, pull, hanging, pull. All right, now from here, their sword is over there and they are here, and I can do a lot of things, but this is the one where I like to cut off their head like the Kurgan and run through. I'm in the thumb grip, so I'm going to rotate, and I'm basically doing a thwarter kind of action like this, and I'm stepping off to this side, and I keep running and run away. All right? So, again, we're just going to start from our Sprechfenster, except for the right foot forward with what we've done, and turning into my thwarter kind of strike, stepping with my left foot, continuing through with my right. All right, and we'll just do 2 more of that. Right foot forward, Sprechfenster, wind a little bit, step, step. And I'm cutting them with the short edge. All right, so Sprechfenster, right foot forward, start that winding, and step, step. I also want to remind you, I flung their sword in that direction, so I'm moving that way. This is a technique where, having expelled them from the bind, I want the follow-up hit to them to come fast before they can recover back to the center. All right, so once again, we're going to put this all together. I'm starting in the tower guard. I bring my sword forward, rotate on the balls of my feet, step, 5th winding. Then something happens, they change through to the other side. I do my 1st winding and step. They push my point down, I go through. I wing their sword away, thwarter, step, step. All right, we'll do 3 more of those. So, tower, sword, rotate, step, wind to the thumb grip, wind to fluke, rotate, step, let my point fall, step through, wing their sword away, thwarter, step, step. All right, tower, sword, rotate, step, wind into fluke, wind into right ox, rotate on the balls of the feet, step, go through, wing, thwarter, step, step. Last one. Sword forward, rotate on the balls of the feet, step, 5th winding, 3rd winding, rotate on the balls of the feet, step, go through, step, wing their blade, turn my short edge on, step, step with the thwarter. So, while that technique is not really the same thing as the Handrücken, it's another good example of how the same action is used in different circumstances to have different kind of effect, and they're really similar to each other to the point that while you can see the difference between what I'm doing when I go from here to here to here to here, and when I go here, 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 they're really very similar in general form. My footwork is a little bit different. On the second one, I'm finishing high. The first one, I'm finishing low. But in principle, the idea is still the same. We're pulling that pommel to get that leverage and then going through on the other side. So that was a half an hour. Didn't do any Einzelstücks today because I feel like that was enough. I worked up a good sweat on this super hot day. I hope that was a useful class for you, and I hope to see you all next